Alright guys, so how's it going? Today I'm going to show you how you can make a Vaporwave style album cover um, using Tinkercad.com to get some 3D objects to include in your design, as well as how to move them over into 2D editing software such as Photoshop or Photopea, and use them in conjunction to create one design. So, starting off, if you're doing this for my class, then you're gonna want to look all the way down to the bottom of my page and check this Vaporwave Aesthetics PDF or doc. It'll look something like this. It'll go over some of the things that I'm talking about in this video just in text, and it's gonna list the characteristics and style choices you'll need to make to really make this feel and look like a Vaporwave album cover. So make sure that you're referencing this the entire time, because that's where your guidance and your guidelines will be. I'll be coming back to this every once in a while, but just know that that's where you're going to want to go. So the first thing is, one of the main requirements is that you need to use at least one 3D object in your design. And in this case, we're going to be using Tinkercad.com to do that. So the first thing is, go to Tinkercad.com, make an account. Just make a personal account. You don't have to make a school or an educator's account or anything like that. Uh, a personal account will be just fine. You can even sign in through Google, and that is just fine. Now, once you get in, usually when you get in, this is blank, so I'll delete this really quick just to show you. Usually it's blank when you get in, and then adding something is as simple as clicking the shape you want, and then just throwing it onto your Tinkercad workspace. For now, I like the design I was already using, so I was using this Triceratops head. And just so you guys get an idea, when you're working with Tinkercad, you can make the objects bigger, smaller. You can change their placement. You can move them around. So you can mess around with it a lot. You can even change the colors and such as you see fit. So definitely play around with that, mess with it. This is not necessarily a Tinkercad tutorial. I feel like the program's easy enough for you to manage, but just in case you need a little bit of help, in this top left corner, there's a cube that you can kind of move around and change the view. And this is going to become useful in a second, and I'll show you why. So, like I said, we're not making this design in Tinkercad. We're just using the 3D objects from it, and we're going to incorporate it into a 2D design that we'd normally do in like Photoshop or Photopea, etc. So what I'm going to do, I'm basically going to show you how I made this. So um, this is my Vaporwave album cover. I'm going to show you how I put this together. So I'll pretty much redo all the steps and show you how I kind of came to this. So for now, I'll kind of eliminate some of the elements. And if you notice, not overly complicated, about 4 layers in total. So not really too many things going on. It's more about how I put them together. So I'm gonna, get rid of everything, and we're gonna start back up in Tinkercad. So let's say this is my 3D object. Again, the requirements of the assignment is to use at least one 3D object. This is the one that I'm gonna go with. If you want to look for more, you just go through where it says basic shapes. And there's a bunch of different categories. Where I got this Triceratops was from the Smithsonian category. So you can kind of see it right here. So that's the one I'm using. Now, I told you that the angle or the view of your object is important, because the way that we're going to be exporting this into Photopea is by clicking on this button. So don't click export. I know it's tempting, but that's more so if you're going to 3D print something. You're going to click on send to. So when you click on send to, it gives you this option here where it says picture of your design, and then you can click on that download button to download that picture. But it's going to give you a picture of whatever view you are currently in. So if I'm in this top down view, that's the picture it's going to give me. If I wanted to get a side angle view like so, then I'd have to move it with this little cube. Then I can go to send to, and then I can download that picture. So that's what I'm going to do. I've decided already, as you guys saw in that other design, that I liked it from this angle. So I'm going to go to send to. I'm going to click on download locally. It's going to give me a download option. I'm going to press OK. Disregard the funny names. It names them some really random stuff. but it's funny. You can deal with it. Press OK. It's going to download your picture, and then you can come into Photopea. Now, before you start, I'd recommend, since this is an album cover, you're going to want it to be square. So when you're creating a preset in Photopea, if you go File, New, if you click on the Instagram option, it's already going to be a square. So it'll basically just create a square for you. That's going to probably be the best thing for you. So I'm going to go back to this project. Now, when you want to import your 3D object from Tinkercad, after you've already done send to, after you've already downloaded it, you go to Photopea, you go to File, Open and Place. So I'm going to click Open and Place. This is good because it won't create a new document. If you click Open, it's going to create an entirely new document, and you might not want that, especially if you went through the trouble of already making your document square. You're going to want to click Open and Place. So I'm going to click Open and Place. I'm going to select, I think it was, let's see. Yeah, I'm going to go with this one. So this is my image. So right here already, I kind of have it in my document. Perfect. Now I'm going to make it bigger, make it as big as I need it to be, right? And I'm going to pretty much try to copy exactly what I did before, as you saw the example earlier in this video. So I'm putting it center. I'm focusing only on the 3D object. If you want to keep the work plane and you want to work it into your design, feel free. But for this one, I'm just going to use the Triceratops head. I'm going to press enter. And now what I want to do is just delete everything. So I'm just going to get my magic wand here. Magic wand. I right-clicked on that just to see these options. I'm going to select these white areas. But at first, you'll notice it's not letting me delete. It says Smart Object must be rasterized first. So I'm going to right-click on it. Rasterize. Boom. And then I can delete its background. So I'm going to delete that background area. And then for this part, I'm just going to grab this selection tool here. Make like a big rectangle over the area I want to delete. And I'm just going to press delete. Boom. So right there I have my isolated Triceratops head. Pretty similar to the one I had before. Just for the sake of keeping it consistent, now that we've gotten to this point, I'm just going to use my previous Triceratops head. But you guys at least see what it took to get there. So this is the one I had originally, right? Now let's go back to the instructions. Let's check it out. So it says in our Vaporwave aesthetics instructions, after you add that one 3D object, now you need to incorporate at least 3 of the following characteristics, but feel free to use more if you like. So I have like 6 bullet points here that have some general characteristics that are related to the Vaporwave aesthetic. And within each of those bullets, I give a couple of examples of how you could kind of accomplish that. I'm going to go for the easiest thing possible, just so I can do a quick video for you guys. But, you know, feel free to go crazy with this. There's so many different examples of Vaporwave on the internet that you can look up. So many different videos you can look up about it. So really, you know, sky's the limit here. But I'm going to go with something simple just to keep it easy for you. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to look at my bullet points, see something I could do quickly and easily. Here I mentioned about colors that are typical to the style, right? So pinks, turquoises, sky blues, neon colors, and other colors that are common in Vaporwave. And then gradients are also really common to the style also. So I'm going to come here. I'm going to make a new layer, right? And this one I think I want it to be underneath my Triceratops layer. I'm going to go to my gradient tool, click on the gradient option. And here I already like the colors that I have, but if you need to edit them, you click on them. Click on this color, and then you can edit it however you see fit. Same thing, you click on this one, click on the color, edit it however you see fit. Now I'm happy with this, so I'm going to stick with it, and I'm going to draw out my gradient. Boom. So I drew out my gradient. Right there, I've already made one of these bullet points kind of just checked off, right? So out of 3, I've done 1, just really simply in 2 seconds with a gradient. Again, like before, I'm just going to kind of remove this layer and just use the one I had previously, because this is just how I built the project before. But right now I have one 3D object and a gradient using typical colors. So right there, I'm already starting to meet the requirements for this project. Next, let's go back to the instructions. So the instructions mention a bunch of other things. One of them is like images or references to the past or to old technology. I even mentioned about incorporating digital glitches or VHS filters. So I'm actually gonna roll with that idea. So I'm gonna go to Google. This is exactly what I searched: digital glitch overlay. And if you just look through, there's a bunch of different images that you can use to overlay on your project. And this is, think of it like an Instagram filter or like a Snapchat filter, whatever. It's just going to go over your entire project. So I liked this one. I like the look. I like the colors it had. So I'm going to copy it. Let me try it one more time. Copy, edit, paste. Ooh, not the right one. Let's try one more time. Edit, paste. Ooh. So if this happens to you, just go back to Google, copy image, edit, paste, boom. So right here, all I did here was Control-Alt-T, make it bigger, and then I put this layer over all my other layers, and then I started messing with the blend modes. So I started changing how this blended with my project, and I started messing with the opacity to get it at an ideal level. So that's really all I did. I didn't mess with this layer very much. I just changed my blend mode and messed with the opacity. And I always recommend to experiment with your blend modes. You really never know how it's going to blend, especially when it's two images you've never used before. Sometimes you have really cool blends. Sometimes you have really ugly ones. You just got to experiment and see what happens when you change the opacity as well. So going back to what I had done originally, so this was the original overlay I made. I had just my overlay blend mode with a 66% opacity, and it gave me this look. So again, I'm going to kind of move the remade layers to the bottom, but this is what I'm working with right now. So I have my gradient, I have my 3D object, I have my digital glitch overlay, and right here, already I'm almost done. So I have my 3D object, and out of 3 characteristics that I need to include, I've already done 2. So I've gotten 2 out of 3 just using my colors and my references or images of old technology. So the next thing, I'm just going to try to do something really simple. For whatever reason, and if you guys remember the video that I put up, Japanese culture is a really big influence on this style of music and this style of art. So I'm going to try to find references to Japanese culture really simply and add it to my Photopea project just by going to Google Image and looking up like pictures of Tokyo, right? So I think I have already done this. So if I go back here, let's see if I can find it. Let's see, I can go Tokyo Night Street. All right. Now there's a million options here, and nightlife and city life is also a big aspect to Vaporwave. Just urban settings are very common. So I'm just gonna go to something simple like this one. This was the one I chose originally. So again, you copy it. I'll copy it one more time just in case. Go to Photopea, paste it. Boom. I'm gonna move this layer here. I'm gonna Control-Alt-T, and I gotta make it a lot smaller. I don't want it to be so big. So I'll make it a lot smaller. Awesome. And then again, I'm really just gonna mess with blend modes. I'm gonna come here to layer 2, just start messing around with different blend modes, see how I can make this mix with my project in a cool way. Now, there's gonna be probably multiple ways that you like. You just got to decide on one of them. So like hue is very extreme, but at least, very original. I'm not going to roll with this one today, but, just keep in mind, there's a lot of really extreme effects that if you mess with them enough, they could probably look cool. And then you just mess with the opacity a little bit to create a nice blend, right? Now, in this case, again, since I had already made this project, I'm just going to show you what I did previously. So I'm going to move this layer down. I'm going to turn it off, and I'm going to turn on my original layer. So what I did, and it's a very subtle effect, but I used the exclusion. So normally it would have looked like this with that 43% opacity. But since I put exclusion on, it creates this nice kind of negative effect, kind of like an inverted color effect. If I try to zoom into it, my browser going out of whack here. If I try to zoom into it, it creates this nice negative inverted color effect. So I can see a lot of the details of this Tokyo street. So I see the street signs. I even see this person walking, but it's not totally overwhelming my photo. So if I were have this at 100%, for example, or if I had this at normal, it kind of overwhelms the whole photo and it just takes over. I didn't want that. So doing something like exclusion making the opacity a lot lower, creates a subtle effect that ends up looking really cool. So in this case, I actually really like how it looks. Um, and now pretty much I'm done. So again, if we kind of look at it, again, these layers down here are just repeats. This is just me doing it again on camera for you all. But these are my original layers here, and I only used 4. So if we go back to my instructions page, I used one 3D object, and I incorporated at least 3 of the following characteristics. So the 3 I used were images of old technology, references to Japanese culture, and typical colors to the style. Right, so those 3 characteristics I used plus the 3D object, and I came up with this Vaporwave style album cover. Now, there's a million ways you could go about doing this, and if you didn't want to stop at 3 characteristics, you could go 4, 5, 6, do as many as you want. You can even incorporate multiples of the same type of thing. So if you wanted to include multiple references to Japanese culture, you know, images from animes, images from city streets, Japanese text, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of ways you could go about this, and this is just one way. But I just wanted to show you guys how you could do this really simply and really easily, and you didn't have to like break your heads over it. So that's pretty much it. Hopefully this was enough to help you guys out. Remember, if you're confused about importing or exporting from Tinkercad, just go back to the beginning of the video and always take a look at the instructions. Good luck, guys. I hope you guys enjoy.